The Akwa Ibom chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, currently has an issue over its Northwest senatorial ticket. Godswill Akpabio, a former governor of Akwa Ibom State and Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, who contested the APC presidential ticket alongside former Lagos State Governor Bola Tinubu, is in the middle of it all. Prior to the presidential primary on May 27, Udom Ekpoudom, a former Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG, had won a primary organized for the Akwa Ibom Northwest senatorial ticket. However, a parallel primary was also conducted by the party, which was won by Ekperikpe Ekpo, but was later cancelled over irregularities, while a rerun was conducted on June 8 with Akpabio declared as winner of the exercise, but INEC said it does not recognize the primary election. Speaking on the development, Mike Igini, resident electoral commissioner REC in Akwa Ibom, said INEC officials did not monitor any primary outside the one conducted on May 27th. The question now is, can a political party conduct a senatorial rerun primary or any other when the outcome of a previous one conducted wherein winners emerged had not been cancelled or declared inconclusive? Joining us on the show today as we discuss INEC's take on the development in Akwa Ibom State is Mathias Emeribe. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Well, Mr. Emeribe, thank you for joining us. I think for purposes of transparency, you should start by telling us which of the factions of the APC in Akwa Ibom State that you belong to, so that we'll know where you are coming from. Are you on the Ekpoudom side or you are in the Akpabio side? There are matters in court that have not yet been resolved. What really is the issue? We've been told that there was a primary on the 27th. There was another senatorial primary for Akwa Ibom Northwest on Northwest on 28th. There was yet another primary on June 8th. I mean, you're a lawyer, so what are the issues at play here, and where do you stand?
First, let me clarify the position. I am not in any of the faction, nor do I belong to APC as a party. I do not actually belong to any political party as we speak. So I'm a lawyer here. I am here to do legal justice concerning the issues that are at stake, so that I'll be seen from that angle rather than looking at it from a partisan point of view, as it were. Now, concerning the two elections you mentioned, the one that was conducted on the 27th, where there were two factional elections, and the one of the 8th of June, which produced the former senator, or better say, former governor of the state, Akpabio. I would say with the greatest respect, going by the provision of the Electoral Act, if any of these elections conducted are not monitored by INEC, which is the statutory body vested with the power to now oversee the political parties, the implication by virtue of the provisions of the Electoral Act, Section 82, subsection 5, and Section 84, subsection 13, the implication is it's an invalid primaries or whatever they may have done. And what it will therefore mean is that it will not be recognized by law.
Right, so why exactly is there still some kind of a debate? The law is clear. INEC has been unequivocal. We do not recognize these primaries. So what is the next step at this point?
Well, you know, you forget that because we are dealing with the ruling party, that is the party in government, there's a tendency for them to be, there will be some element of arrogance with due respect. I say this because this has happened before in 2011 in Cross River State, where this PDP then was the ruling party. They carried out primaries which didn't fall in line with the Electoral Act. And all their candidates were what? With INEC refused accepting or recognizing any of their candidates. But as you have it, because that was the report that INEC gave that period for the 2011 election. But as you have it, when the report got to Jegaden, who was then the chairman of INEC, it happened that PDP, being that they were the majority, overnight just amended the provision of Section 31 by putting a proviso to the effect that INEC cannot reject. They do not have power to reject any candidate submitted to them. So that was why you had it then in the 2010 Electoral Act as amended, so to speak. They just put that proviso there. So this is exactly what is repeating itself here now. Because on the 27th, the only recognized primaries that was conducted was the one that produced Udom, the former policeman. That was the one that INEC was present and monitored. Now, and by law, that is the one that is recognized to be the one that will go into the contest with other political parties. But to not come up with the one saying that they had it on the 8th, the question, I know they are talking of rerun. And when you are talking of rerun, rerun naturally is conducted between parties who were in the initial process. Now, the rerun that we are talking about was Akpabio. Was he in the initial one, the previous one? Let's just assume that there's actually a rerun. Was he in the previous one? Because we know that by between the 7th to 8th, 6th to 8th of June, he was a candidate, an aspirant for the presidential election, so to say, for the primaries of APC. So when did he vie for the one that was cancelled, purportedly cancelled by the party, and then there's a rerun which came up on the 8th? Because you must first make the list for the former before you can then be allowed to contest in the latter. Yes, the latter one. So where did it come from? So those are some of the anomalies that you have. People are now trying to mess up the Electoral Act. But the good thing is that the Electoral Act is clear. It's clear. That is why if your primaries is not monitored by INEC, even though INEC has the option to either go or not to go, but the law is clear that if it is not monitored by INEC, as it were, like I said under Section 82, sub 5, and under Section 84, sub 13, it's more like it's a nullity. That's the implication of the provision of the law. So, to that extent, the one that produced Udom, that is the one monitored by INEC, and the report of INEC has shown that that is the one they know. So every other one is unknown to law.
So what will settle all of this out? Probably they'll go to court, and I hear their cases in court already.
With due respect, I wouldn't know what the court will decide. Yes, you won't take that's a right that they have. It's a right that is vested in them. But you ask a fundamental question, what would the court decide in such a situation? Taking into consideration that the provision of the Electoral Act is clear. And because first, let's even face it, look at it. When INEC released their guideline for primaries to be conducted, I think between April and June 3rd, before the extension was made to 9th, it was clear that political parties, what they did was to not give notice, the necessary 21 days notice, which the law provides under Section 82, 2, to the effect that, of course, INEC must be issued with the necessary 21 days notice, which, of course, all the political parties complied with, and stated exactly when their primaries will be conducted. APC gave their notice and said that their primaries will be conducted on the 27th because governorship took place on the 26th. So to say. And then on that 27th, that was the one, INEC, because if you give that notice that it is coming up that day, you give the time, place where it is going to go on. What it means that INEC, as a rule, would deploy their machinery and all that they have in respect of that primaries for that particular day and for that particular matter. So if you are now changing the date or the time, is it not ideal that you must equally let the body, that is the body that you've informed that the matter is coming up or the primary is coming up at so and so time, that we have changed this date? It's no longer, just like the primaries. When they changed the date for the primaries, they gave notice. In other words, the national body gave notice to what? To INEC, that we have changed from 29th and 30th for our primaries of May to 6th to 8th of June. It's as simple as that. But was that issued? Was any of those things done? I mean, with all due respect, if those things were not done, I wouldn't know which court, the reasoning that any court want to give. Yes, we agree that 95% of primary election, as it were, are purely that of what? The parties per se. I mean, INEC has barely just about 5% input to make in respect of the primaries. But those are statutory provisions, and you must obey them, the rule of law.
Okay. There is another side to this story. Jackson Udom, who is a special assistant media to Godswill Akpabio, says that one, the party directed that the party primary for Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District should be held on the 28th. And the one that was won by former DIG Udom Ekpoudom was conducted on the 27th, not on the date that the party chose. And that in any case, that was conducted by the Akpanodo Edehe faction of the party, who has since gone ahead to pick the ticket of the new Nigeria People's Party. The second claim by him is that the rerun election on June 8 was conducted under the watch of Udom Ekpoudom, who he says is the authentic chairman of the APC in Akwa Ibom, and that any other primary conducted for that senatorial district by any other chairman cannot be valid. Third, where is INEC in all of this? Has INEC given anybody a certificate of return or not?
Now, with the greatest respect, when we are dealing with the primaries, the issue of certificate of return is left for the party and not for
INEC.
Not for INEC,
okay.
Number one. Number two, as to the issue of the date, you ask yourself, was that date communicated to INEC, that the initial date, which of course was sent nationwide, because nationwide, what was sent was 27th by the party itself. That's talking about APC. Now, if Akwa Ibom is going to be a unique one, I mean, it behoves on the party to do same by informing INEC through its national body that for Akwa Ibom, it is on so and so date. Now, the question is that, was that communicated to INEC? I don't know, I get what I'm saying. So if all of this were not done, I mean, with due respect, you can't put something on nothing and expect it to what? To stand. It will fall, McFoy and UAC. So, and that is the position here. So if they have not done the needful, and to now begin to lean on the point that, yes, it was supposed to be held on the 28th. The question is that, what is the communication or the notice that was issued to INEC? Where was it specifically stated that INEC, the one of Akwa Ibom, is going to be on the 28th? Now, what happened on that 28th? Why didn't the election hold on that 28th? How come it now came to, I mean, we wouldn't even say that it was even postponed. We now know that the election will have to come up on the 8th of June. On what basis? And then even if you are saying 28, because the law is simple, because if you are conducting an election, a primary, as you are giving notice to INEC, by implication, INEC is made to equally know those who are going to participate in the election. Are we not saying that by 28, talking about the former governor, was contemplated to be in that ballot on the 28th? I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
No, I'm
if on the 8th was when the election was held, and he said he won on that 8th, so to speak. Meanwhile, going by that initial decision, they said, okay, it wasn't supposed to be 27, it was supposed to be 28. And meanwhile, we understand that as an aspirant for the presidential, this is going to come up on the 6th to 7th. That's talking about the national primaries for the party. Are we not saying, by implication, that he has already been made or contemplated being a senator on the 28th, prior to when he contested as being an aspirant between 6th and 8th of June? I mean, that's it doesn't sound logical, and it doesn't, meet what we call common sense, as it were. Using someone like Ben Bruce who say common sense, So, for all intents and purposes, that's what I'm saying, that this is just mere trying to play to, how do I call it, trying to use sheer power of, being that I am the ruling party. Please, you people intervene. Let us see. No! The law is law. Because you asked, even on that 28th, was he on the ballot for senatorial position? No.
So I have two questions. Where then did the INEC rec, Mike Igini, get the list of delegates that purportedly produced DIG Ekpoudom? And also, can INEC monitor any primaries where the political party did not communicate or choose the date and the venue?
Now, for the list, like I said, when the date has been released or notice has been given for the election, it is proper that INEC, because if you are inviting INEC to come and monitor your election, you would normally, as a rule, tell them these are the people who have cleared, that you have cleared. Because mind you, you are not a candidate, or should I say, you will not be qualified to contest the primaries if you have not been what? Cleared as an aspirant first. So that is basically what you will have, because they must have to clear them first and then give it to INEC and say, these are the people who are going to, because all these things are meant for transparency, to be sure that there won't be any hanky-panky, perhaps much later, because you know how most of these political parties, they do their thing, so to say. Now, that is one side. Now, what was the second part that you asked?
Can INEC monitor political primaries if the party did not tell them the date and the venue?
If you don't tell them the date and the venue, you have breached the provision of what? The Electoral Act. Just like I told you, if you go to section 82, subsection what? 5. Basically 82.2, it demands that for any of the primaries, or not even primary, congresses, or convention, or an elective that the political party wants to conduct, they must give 21 days worth notice. So, and if the law says that if you do not comply with the provision of this law, whatever primaries or whatever you must have, even your meetings will be null and what? Void. In fact, it's invalid. That's what the law says. So, if you fail to inform INEC as to the date when you are conducting your decision, you are on your own. That means you are the one that is monitoring. You are the one that have taken up the responsibility of playing the role of the role vested on INEC to be monitoring, supervising.
So this comes back to that question. With all of these adjustments we've made to our electoral laws, is it still about the power that some people think they have politically over, due process? Because that's what is playing out here, isn't it?
I agree with you, maybe, because if the law is clear, I mean it is very clear. You see, that is why, and sometimes maybe some people may want to put it that the action of INEC amounts to saying that they've disqualified, but that is not. You must first show interest, just like people say expression of interest form. I mean, for all those who vied for presidential primaries of their various political parties, if you fail to pick the expression of interest form, the implication is that you are not interested. And even if you do, and you fail to fill the form properly, the implication still is that you are still what? Not what? Interested.
Okay. Mr. Emeribe, can you help us lift the veil?
Okay.
Is this about Akpanudo Edehe versus Godswill Akpabio? Who are the characters under the mask? Because this is not just about venue or delegate list and all that. Who are the gladiators?
I've told you, we must get our laws and obey it. And that's why I said I came here for purposes of putting the legal aspect right and stating it the way it is. In other words, it is not intended to side anybody. Like I said, I do not belong to gladiators. That's what I'm saying, that I do not belong to any of them. And as you are even mentioning their names, I don't even know them.
You don't know God?
I don't even know them. I've not met them one-on-one. I've not seen them one-on-one. But I've heard their names, but I don't know them. So that's why I'm saying that I am talking specifically and, just directly on law, talking about law, what the position of the law is in respect of this matter.
Okay. We'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Mathias Emeribe, for joining us on the morning show.